The Bible tells us that there were giants in the land, so here I am. One time I can be a giant when I get up here. What we're looking at, what's been replicated, is the city of Jerusalem as it would have looked in the year 66 AD. That's 33 plus years after the crucifixion of Christ, 4 years before the Romans would come and totally destroy everything that you see. At this point in its history, however, it was from this southern wall, 1 mile up to the northern wall, 1 mile long, 2/3 of a mile wide, and a population of 90,000 people. Scattered throughout the city, a number of synagogues, much like this one. The synagogues had become the center not only of their religious worship, but the center of their social life as well. And the synagogue served those same purposes for the Jewish people to this very day. A beautiful palace had been built by a Gentile queen. Her name was Helena, and she was the queen mother of a small Mesopotamian kingdom called Adiabene. It was located in what is today the northwest corner, of all places, of Iraq. She and her son, the king, both converted to Judaism. In 42 AD, a famine struck this city. She and her son sent rain to help feed the people, and out of gratitude, they allowed her to build this palace and live in the city, even though she was a Gentile. At my feet was the council house where matters of the religious law were settled. The first 5 books of the Old Testament we commonly identify the 10 Commandments. The Jewish people identify in those same books 613 commandments. Over the centuries, they developed hundreds, even thousands of traditions, many of which made their way into the law. But the days of the New Testament, that law was so complex, no one knew what it said. Sounds a little like our tax code, doesn't it? Come on, folks, lighten up. I know it's early in the morning, but it's not that early. You had your coffee. People would come to the council house, present their own particular set of circumstances to the elders. The elders would then search that complex law and tell the person, this is what you have to do. It gave the elders tremendous power, and because they spent their days reading, studying, searching in that religious law, they are the ones who are referred to in the New Testament as lawyers. Okay, I usually get a different response, but that's okay. I'll stay out of trouble this way, maybe. The other building was a mikvah. A mikvah was a ceremonial bathhouse. Inside, a number of places where a worshiper could modestly walk down into a pool of water, immersing themselves for ceremonial cleansing. Many things could render a worshiper unclean. Touching a dead body, a woman giving birth to a child. When Mary and Joseph brought Jesus to the temple when he was 40 days old, Mary was coming to make her offering of purification. She first would have gone into the mikvah and immersed herself in one of those pools of water. The Temple Mount. The first temple was not the one you're looking at. This was actually the last temple to be built. The first was Solomon's temple, and it was magnificent beyond anything we could possibly describe. $218 billion worth of gold and silver in that temple. We cannot possibly begin to imagine the splendor it would have presented. It stood for almost 400 years until 586 BC, when the Babylonians came, destroyed the temple, the city, and took the Jews into the Babylonian captivity. 70 years later, a Jewish remnant, about 42,000 Jews, returned to the land, rebuilt another temple which they called Zerubbabel's temple. Smaller and grossly inferior to Solomon's. They even used some of the burnt and broken and charred ruins of Solomon's temple to rebuild that next one. The Bible says that some of the elderly Jews who were old enough to remember as children having seen Solomon's temple in its splendor, when they saw this rebuilt temple, were so disappointed they sat in the dirt, rent their garments, and wept. Nevertheless, that temple would serve them for the next 500 years, down to the days of Herod the Great, the king, when Jesus was born. Herod was, in his own right, a master builder, and he embarked on a very ambitious building project here on the Temple Mount that would eventually take 82 years to complete, long after Herod himself had died. The first thing he did was more than double the size of the mount to about 36 acres, and that is what comprises the Temple Mount in Jerusalem today. I would submit to you they are the most critical 36 acres of land anywhere on the surface of planet Earth. Herod surrounded it all with 4 beautiful porticos. The one that ran along this eastern wall was referenced in the New Testament as Solomon.